afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show. It is your weekend edition. It is Friday. Hope you had a great week. What a fun, exciting, volatile week, not just for the broad market indexes, but you had some stocks that were just going absolutely nuts today and all week, really. Just good stuff. So cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. I realize I don't make it into the office very often, but one of you, I believe, sent me a package to the office. I will go in this weekend and make sure I get that, make sure it's all good. I'm looking forward to it. It feels heavy. I think it might be a bottle of whiskey in there, so I'm pretty excited about that one. Anyway, cheers, everybody. Let me have a nice sip of this whiskey here, and we will get on with our Friday weekend edition show. Deliciousness. So, as I try to typically do Friday, it's going to be a weekend trading week wrap-up type of show. This is show 846, January 19, 2024. Let me start things off with our broad markets, and then I'll work our way back up into some specialty things. And as Big Ed mentioned at the end of the show yesterday, I forgot to talk about my save trade. I was saved by save, that's for sure. It was a heck of a rally there for Spirit Airlines. It was saved today. Big Eb, I got another one for you, though. I got another one that I took. I got another really extremely speculative trade that I took today as a day trade, as well as I actually sold puts going out to next month, but collected 12% premium for a month. So I'll let you know about that one here in just a second. Yes, again, these were done on my gamble account, not my mainstream stable accounts. Let's start at the bottom now that I'm out of breath, work my way up. Crude oil today down 0.73. Now, yesterday I was excited with crude oil because we had broken out to the upside from this compression here, which is obviously a bullish sign. Well, today gave back a little bit. Nothing really overly noteworthy here. Nothing that caused me to think that we're going to come crashing back down on crude oil. As it stands right now, I'm starting to feel slightly more bullish on crude oil. Now, I am not long crude oil. I'm long natural gas, which is getting smoked. It's not very good. But crude oil down 0.72% today. All in all, I feel good. It's been a decent week. Neither one of them, Dave. The chart I had up there was Spirit Airlines, which was save. But I will show you Mara. I'll show you coin as well today. Okay, here's your 10-year. Shooting star in the 10-year. Uh-oh. It felt like we were kind of moving on up here. Notice the last time we had a shooting star. Can you guys just look where the current candle is today and move back to the last time you saw a shooting star? No, okay, I'm going back through January. Nothing. That's not a shooting star. Well, I guess it could be, but wasn't really after a big move up. Now, last real one that followed through was back here on December 11th, and from that point, you had a significant decline in the yield of that 10-year. Now, I don't know if that's going to follow suit, but we do have a shooting star on that 10-year as of today, so we'll keep an eye on that when we open up on Sunday night and get into Monday's trading session, so it should be pretty good. Yeah, now, you were not quite in that supply zone. I mean, technically for me, on that 10-year, you're going to be going higher up to right around 4.23%, and our high today on that 10-year was only 4.196. So we're not quite there, but we're pretty darn close to that overhead supply level. So that was your 10-year. Dollar index is the next one. We had the shooting star 2 days ago. Hesitation yesterday. Slightly down today. I don't know. You look at a pattern like this, my gut tells me it wants to come to the downside here, but I don't know. You've got this intermediate uptrend that started in January, kind of shorter term uptrend, higher highs, higher lows, but the bigger picture, which goes back to October of last year, still in a downtrend. So all in all, this is a tough one to read on that dollar index, but today down just 0.18%. Now getting into some of the fun stuff. Gold. Technically, nothing going on with gold. We did mention we had a bullish Harami yesterday, which was a bullish formation. We did gap up on gold today. A little bit of movement, but nothing really extreme. Was up 0.5% on the day. Since silver is one of my main holdings, well, there's your picture for silver. Not pretty. All right, it looks like silver wants to be going lower here because we broke those lows from back in December. But I'm kind of keying in on that $20 mark as the floor for myself and my position here in silver SLV. Top four, Russell 2000 up 1 full percentage point today. It had a Harami yesterday. Again, I still thought we were going to drift lower. We're not out of the woods yet. We may get down to those levels, but right now closing 1957. I still think that 1900 mark as well as the 1886 is in play here over the next couple weeks. However, we do have some other bigger news, and that bigger news is S&P 500. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. broke through the all-time highs today and handily. We had that nice big move yesterday. We had a bullish engulfing pattern yesterday. I thought we would challenge the all-time highs today. Didn't think we'd rip through it like we did. We blew through it by over 30 points to the upside for all-time highs. ES was trading at 4,872.5 as we speak. So 1.27% gain. That was pretty darn impressive. Now, just to break up the monotony of indexes leading the charge to the upside, Bitcoin had to step in there and create a little bit of stubbornness. You notice with that 40,000 mark today, again, we dropped all the way down to a low of 40,300, held that number and bounced up just a little bit, currently at 41,635, a gain of 1.85% on the day. And finally, the NASDAQ, the big dog, not only breaking through, but just screaming to the upside today, as Big Eb says there. He's happy. Microsoft, Nvidia, AMD, Broadcom, you've got just ripping to the upside. It's tech. I can't remember the guest. I'm pretty sure it was Justin Krebs on Tuesday just saying, sectors to look for. He says you can't argue tech. I'm pretty sure it was Justin. I remember interviewing a bunch of people this last couple weeks, and a couple of them saying that tech is here. Tech's going to be that driver that keeps on bringing things to the upside, and I agree. I think it's definitely going to keep on pushing it higher. So, beautiful chart today for the NASDAQ, 2.07% gain, all-time highs for it. The question that on everyone's mind, I'm sure, is, well, where the heck's it going to go? Right? You look at that picture there. Where is it going to go? This is all uncharted territory. Never been higher. This is what one of my old colleagues used to call the blue sky theory. And that is when you don't have anything to stop it, it usually has a big run and a big move. Now, unfortunately for anybody who's bullish on these markets, it's Friday. So that euphoria, that optimism of ripping through all-time highs is all of a sudden going to have a calming down for a couple of days, at least till we get to the futures markets opening up on Sunday night. So while it's exciting, while it feels great, it would have been better if this happened like a Monday. So you have all week of just optimism to drive and have a huge surge to the upside. So unfortunately, I don't think the follow-through is going to be as significant as it would be if it was, a couple more days in the week. But either way, looking pretty darn good. Bitcoin ETF surpassed the silver ETF. Yep. Yeah, Bitcoin. The Bitcoin ETF's only been around a little bit and already passed silver as far as market cap. Says a lot. There's a lot. I've had multiple questions. I had two people call me, one message, one called, asking about the Bitcoin ETFs and which one did I buy. And I'm like, hold on, I'm not a financial advisor. I am not giving you advice on what to buy, but I gave them the whole list, and we'll look at that again here today as well. So yeah, pretty interesting, the Bitcoin charge. That was pretty much it as far as what I wanted to talk about today. When you look at different market indexes and currencies, we have some major announcements happening next week with the Japanese yen, which look at the US dollar against the Japanese yen here over the past 3 weeks has been phenomenal. Sure wish I went to Japan when I was telling you guys, go to Japan. You get a lot more bang for your buck. Well, it's coming back on the table here at 148 on that Japanese yen versus the US dollar. We had a massive pullback from November till December, but now all of a sudden surging and maybe even challenge those highs again for the USD JPY. And that would assume that we have bullishness in that dollar index, which we've had for the past couple of weeks, but I'm not convinced that we are back to the full bullishness of the dollar. For me, we'd have to break that 104.50 mark on the dollar index to really feel like we were back and going to challenge those highs. All right, can I look at PSTG and see if it qualifies as 3 marching soldiers? How many soldiers might follow? So you're looking at PSTG. Pure storage. There's the 3 white soldiers and there's the 3 black crows. As far as using it for measuring object, I'll be honest, Mike, I don't use it. I've never used the 3 white soldiers, 3 black crow candlestick formations. Bottom line is you have incredible optimism going on with them. I don't know this company, Pure Storage. I don't think you can go wrong with storage companies. I mean, the cost of storage just gets more and more expensive, so these guys are just raking it in. I'm assuming, I haven't looked at this chart ever, but I'm assuming that on these last 3 days, volume is much higher than normal. No, barely higher than normal. This would concern me a little bit just because you have these big of moves without emotion. Typically when that happens, that this is like, it feels like this is almost insiders knowing what they're doing. So you have a very small group of people buying and driving prices up. Yeah, usually when you have a move up like this, volume is 3, 4, or 5 times as much as it normally is. So as far as how many will follow, no idea, my friend. I don't use that as a measuring object. I'm going to scroll out here on the daily time frame, and it looks like this has broken through all-time highs, has it? I'm going to go weekly. Feels like it might have broken through all-time highs. Yeah, just like the overall market, you are at all-time highs on pure storage. So at this point, you just got to stick with it and think this thing's going to keep on moving to the upside. My own personal thing here would be, if this keeps moving like this, I am very inclined to move my stop loss up below the low of the previous day. So at this point, if I was in PSTG, my stop loss would be just below 39.14. I'll call it, if it breaks 39, I'm out. And you're looking at it going, well, that's $1.80 away. Cool, great. I'm okay to leave $1.80 on the table because this thing could move up even more and more and more. So all in all, it looks pretty good. I like it. I'm not going to buy it, but I like it. All right, let me go into a couple questions. Well, first off, one of the things that people have asked is, can we look at the spot Bitcoin ETFs? Well, I have not taken the time to break them all apart. I wanted to, but I have been recording. I got a new studio going on. I'm recording just tons and tons of stuff, so it's been very, very busy on my end. I will probably do it this weekend, where I'm going to sit down and look at all of these 11, and I'll go through and kind of find out which one. Are there any in here that outshine the others? As I mentioned, when this happened on Wednesday of last week, I said you've got 11 of them going right now. What will probably happen is you will see a consolidation. Within a couple of months, only, let's say, 6 of these will be active. And after, a year or two, maybe 3 or 4 will be active. Other than that, most of them will disappear, and it'll probably be with the big names. I'm really impressed with Franklin Templeton. I'm really impressed. If you guys have followed their Twitter account, it's like somebody who's in their early 20s to early 30s is managing their Twitter account, because all of a sudden they put laser eyes on the Franklin Templeton guy. That is impressive, considering that so many other firms are actually going against the grain and blocking transactions of Bitcoin ETFs. They put laser eyes on their guy on Twitter. That is pretty impressive, and they've been very pro-crypto in their comments. So I really think Franklin Templeton deserves a nod of the hat here, a tip of the cap, just because they're an old institution, but they realize the importance of clients. And when you alienate your clients by saying, we're not going to allow you to trade this, you make a statement about your management and what type of company you are. If I ran a business and let's say I sold widgets, right? And a new widget came on the market that personally I don't like. I don't really care for this type of widget, but you guys are demanding it. My customers go, we want the widget. Hey, I'm just going to warn you, this widget has X, Y, and Z problems, but that's on you. If you want to buy it, that's okay. I will sell it to you because I'm going to make money off that. Some of these firms have pulled the holier than thou perspective and said, we will choose what's right for you to buy or sell. And I think that's wrong. One of our inalienable rights is freedom of choice, and we should be able to buy whatever we want. So anybody who has an account at some of those firms who have been blacklisting Bitcoin ETFs, you have a voice. You could very easily close your account and move it to somebody who is more open-minded and accepting of you as a customer. So, yeah. I should put a list of all the companies that blocked the ETF. There were a few. And now they're backpedaling because they've seen a huge outflow of capital from their firms. And you know what? They deserve it. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. It's the whiskey talking. Sly says, why a second studio at the house? Well, this is my live studio for broadcasting live shows. What I don't have is a recording studio to record content. Like, this is a seated set, right? I'm sitting down right now. Not a lot going on. The other set I've got 2 soft boxes to light. I've got a bigger green screen. I've got all these accent lights. I've got a teleprompter. I've got a much better quality camera to record videos, not only for myself, but for other people who commission me to record and build content for them. So I wanted to step my game up a little bit here, so that's why. It's a standing set as well, so I can do a lot more with it. It's much more professional. Costa says, Merlin came in late, not sure if you covered it. Can you look at Platinum Futures? Your take on it. Okay, let me go through my Bitcoin piece before I get lost in this. I also want to talk about Spirit Airlines and iRobot. I don't know if you guys saw iRobot today. The deal was shot down where the EU? I think it was the EU said, you can't do the merger with Amazon, which, of course, crushed iRobot today. So let me just look at some of these spot Bitcoin ETFs to give you an idea of what they look like. I'll start things off with which I think will be the biggest one. That's IBIT. Right? Now, you notice we don't have a lot of history here. There's really not a lot of time to go off of. And the thing I don't like about these Bitcoin ETFs is right now, the iShares, and this is the BlackRock ETF, is trading at $23.77. But what is that? What percentage of a Bitcoin is that? Like, I wish that they would just price it in Bitcoin. Right? You want to buy it? It's $42,000 or $41,000 a coin. Make it 1/1,000th. Make it $40 to $1. That's what they should be doing. I really dislike this price because I don't know what I'm buying. Right? I know the price of Bitcoin. Price of Bitcoin right now in the futures market is trading at $21,585. What does that have to do with $23.77? Makes no sense to me. That said, notice the volume. 18 million shares traded today. That's no slouch. I mean, that is good volume. Yesterday, you had 17 million. Day before that, 13. It's opening day, 37 million. The iShares one drawing in quite a bit of volume. Now, what about ARK? Here's ARKB. ARK, only 2 million. So right away, iShares is doing 9 times what ARK is doing. And ARK was supposed to be one of the biggest ones, right? And again, they're trading at $41.75. What does that have to do with Bitcoin? I have no clue. Let's look at Wisdom Tree, which is BTCW. Wisdom Tree, look how much volume they had. 18,000 shares of Wisdom Tree traded today. You can already see Wisdom Tree is dead. I apologize for anybody who thinks it's going to succeed or has money invested in Wisdom Tree's Bitcoin ETF fund. You won't lose your money, but the volume's not there. It will just dry up and it'll just go away. So we started off with iShares with 18 million today, then ARK with 2 million, and then Wisdom Tree with a measly 18,000. That is not much at all. So what about Invesco, Galaxy? These were a big one. BTCO, a lot better, 1.7 million. Okay, so we've got out of our first 4, 3 of them are over 1 million shares. Let's use that as our barometer, right? 3 out of 4 are over 1 million. Now we'll go to Bitwise, BITB. BYTB, 4 million. Great. So what I'm hoping you see here at this point right now is there is interest, right? You had 4 new products introduced at the exact same time. Actually, I've gone through 5 now, and only one of them is struggling. Every other one's doing at least 1 million. That's great. That's really good sign for this market. Here's the Van Eck Bitcoin Trust. HODL is that ticker symbol. 200,000. So right away, Van Eck and the Wisdom Tree, probably not going to make it. Unless something dramatically changes here, Van Eck not going to make it. Here's Franklin, EZBC. This is the one I want to make it, but probably not. EZBC. I want this one to make it, but it probably won't. You look at the volume. Oh gosh, I don't want to do it. It's not going to make it. I can tell you right now. 163,000. So not atrociously bad, but nowhere up the competition of ARK, BlackRock, or Invesco. All right, those are the lead dogs. How about Fidelity? Fidelity's been pushing this quite a bit. That's FBTC. Fidelity's traded 13 million. Now, at this point, everybody, we got a 2-horse race: BlackRock and Fidelity. BlackRock had 18 million today. Fidelity has 13 million. And here's why I think Fidelity is going to challenge BlackRock. iShares is always the biggest ETF, man. They've got everything. The iShares is it. However, Fidelity has made a huge push to promote Bitcoin. They have a spot Bitcoin ETF. And during this battle between other firms who are saying, hey, we're not going to allow you to trade Bitcoin here or Bitcoin futures or ETFs, Fidelity is waving the flag going, hey, bring your funds to us. We'll allow you to do whatever you want. So when customers come over, the first thing they get access to is that Fidelity Bitcoin ETF. That's probably helping drive sales. They're promoting their own goods and services and getting new clients along the way. So good one there. Here's Fidelity. I already did Fidelity. Valkyrie, best ticker symbol out there, BRRR. Valkyrie, 122,000 shares yesterday, 277 today. So on the low end. GBTC, the clear leader, because they've been around forever, 37 million. And then lastly, Hashdex, DeFi is the ticker symbol. They traded 6,000. All right, so let's go back to my list here. And I'm going to just put a line through the ones that, in my opinion, are dead in the water. We're not going to make it, right? First one, oh man, my cursor always does this. Just give me the... I can never get this thing to work when I want it to work. I don't know why these stupid pens. There it is. All right, so I'll put a line through it. That hashtag's DeFi, gone. Valkyrie, gonna go away. Let's see, what did we have? The Van Eck. I think Van Eck's gonna go away. I think we looked at Wisdom Tree is done. So out of those 11, I've got 4 marked that, in my mind, I'd say high probability they're going to disappear. They're going to go away. We'll see in another. Let's just do the same process in a month and see what happens in the next month. But most likely, your leaders at this point are Grayscale number 1 with volume, BlackRock number 2. I think Invesco Fidelity was number 3, and ARK was number 4. But the point is, lots of volume. Lots of volume. That's great. I wouldn't buy FBDC because it's the only one not being held by Coinbase and directly through Fidelity. I think it is too big of a singular risk. Good point, Chad. I would, on one hand, I agree with you. On the other hand, I don't. All of these ETFs here, all of them except Fidelity, are holding their Bitcoin at Coinbase, which you said in your comment there, too big of a singular risk. Well, it's also the same thing. You're trusting that Coinbase is taking appropriate actions and is not going to make any mistakes. Now, I would rather have self-custody. What that means is that Fidelity actually holds on to their own Bitcoin. Just like you guys have seen my ledger here, I own my own Bitcoin. No one's holding them for me. With Fidelity, they are doing the same thing. Only question I have is, how are they holding it? Right? Do they have it on a ledger somewhere? Who's got the private key? I don't know how secure it is. But I can make the same argument for Coinbase. Right? How safe is Coinbase? Do we know? Right? There was talk last year that Coinbase was going to go insolvent. That's why I didn't buy Coinbase, and I'm kicking myself for it. If Coinbase messes up or gets hacked, they could lose that Bitcoin. And remember, this is not FDI insured. Right? The Bitcoin itself is not FDIC insured. The ETF is. But the Bitcoin that is backed is not insured. So Coinbase has been hacked before. What happens if somebody gets in there and gets that Bitcoin and disappears with it? Granted, we would track it. We would find out where it went. But it would create chaos. If Coinbase goes bankrupt, those assets become the assets of Coinbase. It's written in their statement. So I don't feel very comfortable with that, with the Coinbase holding everybody's Bitcoin. It makes me a little bit nervous. I'm going with IBET and BTCO and very small shares in GBT to track historical data. Yeah, there you go. I'm okay with spreading around as well. BITO has strong volume even though it's not a spot ETF. Correct, because BITO was first, right? BITO was your first futures ETF. The problem I have with that is Bitcoin, this doesn't hold any Bitcoin, right? You've got 19 million shares traded. My opinion, it's just an opinion, is that over the next couple of months, these futures ETFs are going to start to degrade and diminish. Because remember, there's contango. Every time they roll into a new futures contract, you're losing a little bit more money with BITO. And over time, this will follow Bitcoin less and less and less because of the fees being taken out of it. Now, the thing I didn't mention here is, what are the fees with these individual ETFs, right? What's the fee structures here? And I don't have that written down. I've been meaning to do it, to look at it. I believe Grayscale is the most expensive, and their attitude is, hey, we were first. We've got the market scale. Pay it or leave. Some of these other ones, I looked at BlackRock today, 0.12% fees. That's cheap, man. That's real cheap. I mean, that's cheaper than buying Bitcoin on Coinbase. Coinbase is going to charge you about a percent. You know, think of if you go direct, you'll probably get about a 1% fee. So here you're paying 0.12%, but with Coinbase, I'm actually holding and owning my own Bitcoin. All right, let's go to 2 questions that were in line with this. Ed, up in San Jose. Cheers to you, my friend. Welcome back from your vacation. Glad you had a good time. I noticed that I'm pixelating over here in the corner. He asked a couple questions, and these are very deep thought questions. I appreciate those ones coming in with regards to crypto. So let me take a sip of this, and I'll get to that. How much time do I have left? Plenty of time. All right, Ed says, miners are competing to solve the hashing problem. But why doesn't the miner with the best equipment completely dominate and win every time, eventually putting everyone else out of business? Because all you can do is get a computer that does more computations per second. It's called hash rate, right? So those miners I showed you, the ASIC miners, the application-specific integrated circuit miners, those are extremely expensive. And yeah, you could have the best ASIC miner in the world, but then there's a guy next to you that's got a warehouse full of 1,000 of these things. So it's not like you can get a computer that solves the problem faster than anybody else. It's just random chance, but you have to do as many processes, meaning hashes is what they call it. You want to get the computer with the highest hash rate. Now, even if I went out and bought the best Bitcoin mining rig in the world, I'm not going to compete. I'm not going to stand a chance because there's a guy who's got 50,000 of these rigs in Texas or 100,000 of them in Russia, right? I can't compete with that. So what I could do is instead of trying to do it individually, I join somebody like Antpool or Mempool. There's different where they bring together different miners from around the world. So let's say everybody here is mining cryptocurrency from their home. By yourself, you'll probably never solve a block of data. You'll never get the prize. But we all join together and we use our computers, we connect them all, and collectively we start mining Bitcoin. So let's say I've got I'm just gonna make it up, 100 terahash of hashing power. That's my metric for speed and how many computations my system will do. I have 100, but collectively we do 100,000, right? Us as a group. So if we solve a block of data, I will get my portion, my percentage that I contribute of hashing power, I get that percentage of Bitcoin minus fees. So that's how most people do it, is they join a mining pool if you're an individual. So to answer your question there, a miner isn't going to get the best equipment and annihilate anybody. It's size, right? It's the pools that really ultimately do it. He says, I researched this, and the answer seems to be the probabilistic, I can't even talk today, probabilistic nature of solving the hash first, and perhaps the extreme cost of increasing one's hash performance prevents a single dominant player. But even if it means that only a handful come to solve the vast majority of blocks, it would still seem to pose a major problem for maintaining decentralization. And he's correct. What you'll notice here, the big concern for everybody is what's called a 51% attack. A 51% attack is when any one miner gets over 51% of the network's hashing power. If they do that, then they could theoretically start blocking transactions and preventing things from happening. They could create chaos in the network. The real answer to that is, why would they do that, right? For anybody who's in Bitcoin right now, you know that they want it to succeed. Nobody is out there other than Jamie Dimon going, I want to be a miner so I can crash Bitcoin, so I can block transactions. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't work that way. One sec, I'm trying to bring up the pool so you guys can see all the different pool service. One sec. Okay, get out of there. Okay, get out of here. I'm hoping I can find you all the different miner pools. So these are some of the different mining pools you could join into. So we looked at Antminer. There's a bunch of different versions of Antminer. But let me just go into Bitcoin miner distribution. So you can see kind of your hash rate distribution. It'll show you by mining firm. And I think at one point there was someone had like 35%. Foundry here looks to be about 30% for Foundry USA. I'll make it bigger so you guys can see. Foundry USA looks to be about 30%. Ant pool looks to be about 20%. F2 pool looks to be about 18%. So you can see the different mining pools here. Here's Mara, right? Mara right there. Interesting. The reason that this is important is if anyone gets more than 51%, then it's a problem, Ed. That's where the problem arises. But what would happen here? Let's say Foundry just keeps getting bigger and they buy Antpool. Well, they still wouldn't be at 51%, but the industry would be nervous. So even if they wanted to, Foundry would not buy Antpool and change the name and make it all Foundry. No one wants to have 51% of the power here. They don't, because it creates a risk to the system. And no one wants to have the feeling that Bitcoin's vulnerable that way. So what you're going to get is a bunch of fragmented miners. Some might be 25, 30% of it, but no one's going to get close to 50. If they do, it would be stupid on their part because it ruins the integrity of the network, if that makes sense to everybody, right? I'm hoping that it's clear. You don't want anyone with over half. So if I'm Foundry and I want to get bigger, I'll start another pool under a different name, right? But I don't want to give the illusion that I have over 51%. And that's always going to be unknown. But it's game theory. There is an interest on all of these players' parts, on Ant Pool, Foundry, F2 Pool, all these guys. There's an interest in all of them that nobody ever gets over 51%. And that interest is it will keep functioning. If any one of these gets over half the network power, it creates problems. And to me, that is why you won't see anybody take over and become the big dog in this. It will definitely remain decentralized. And remember, Foundry and some of these, like Ant Pool, I can be a part of Ant Pool. You can all be a part of different mining pools and add to this. So it's not just one person, it's different people spread around the world. That was the first question from Ed, which is a very good one. The second one is a bit deeper. And let me, this is going to require another sip of whiskey for this one. He says, with continued halving, mining could become so expensive that most miners may be forced to shut down. If the transaction fees are expected to cover the miner's costs and provide some profit, these fees could become so high that Bitcoin transactions become prohibitively expensive, leading to a vicious cycle of fewer transactions requiring higher fees to cover costs. If there are no miners, there are no transactions and Bitcoin dies. How can the proof of work protocol survive? So what you're looking at there, Ed, is a hypothesis that we will only find out as we get into, near the end, which is 2140. So all of us will be puffs of dust. Your children won't even be around in 2140. I don't think so. I mean, well, yeah, maybe if you live 117 years old. Okay, if they were born today. So remember, the premise in the beginning when I drew that emission curve for Bitcoin was at the beginning, no one's using it. As it becomes more developed and more adopted, the price of Bitcoin will be higher. Therefore, you reward the miners with less and less and less. So those miners will still be earning, let's say they earn 0.1 Bitcoin down the road. But if a Bitcoin's worth $1 million, they get $100,000 for it. That's their incentive. Bitcoin's going to continue to get more and more expensive over time. That's my assumption. Now, if that happens, most likely there'll be more miners that are going to try to get in there, right? Because if I know it's going to cost me $50,000 to solve a block of data, but when I solve that block, I get $200,000 of the Bitcoin, that's a business I'm into doing. Over time, more and more people will come into this business. More and more people will be buying mining equipment. The equipment will get better and better and become more complex, hopefully more energy efficient. As that happens, you're going to see the price of Bitcoin accelerate. The cost to extract Bitcoin will get higher and higher and higher. Not only that, but you combine that with demand drives the price of Bitcoin up, which means if demand drives the price of Bitcoin up, then a miner can justify spending more money on electricity, spending more money on equipment, because now that if they do solve a block of data, they make a lot more money. So I see your point that it gets prohibitively expensive. What will happen is if Bitcoin, let's say in the next 5 years, Bitcoin becomes so popular, central banks are using it, different countries around the world are using it, and Bitcoin's at $1 million. If all of a sudden, just throwing it out there, the price of Bitcoin falls from $1 million to $100,000, those miners are going to shut down because they probably will build up their infrastructure so that it costs them $990,000 to extract $1 million Bitcoin. They're not going to continue to run their mining equipment, which costs them, let's say, $990,000 to make $100,000 Bitcoin. Doesn't make sense. So they will just stop until the price of Bitcoin is above what their cost is. It's the same thing with gold, right? A miner in Africa that knows it costs him, let's say, $1,000 to extract an ounce of gold will continue to do so. And gold, $1,800 is fine. But if gold drops to $800, are those miners going to stay in business? No. Why would they? Every ounce I pull out of the ground, I'm losing money on, so forget it. I will just shut down until either gold prices rally or I keep working and hoard my gold until it's worth more money. That's the same thing that would happen with Bitcoin miners. So the mining parallel between Bitcoin miners and gold miners is very similar. They're not going to continue to mine at that price if the price of Bitcoin is lower than their cost to extract gold or Bitcoin out of the ground. I hope that makes sense there, Ed. I know it's a tricky question, but the proof of work protocol will survive because it's all going to be about the fees down the road, right? Down the road, there will be a lot of fees associated with this, and I don't know if it's necessarily that the fees will become prohibitively high. There'll just be so much more utilization of the network that you'll get a lot more fees, and you'll get layer 2s on top of that, like the Lightning Network, to help make more transactions. How do you hold your own Bitcoin? Great question, Carrie. You would use something called cold storage. Cold storage is an external device like this. It's called a nano ledger. And on these devices, you can send your Bitcoin to it. And basically, it just keeps a record of where on the blockchain your Bitcoin is located. With this device, I actually own it. I own this one. It's not anybody else's property. It's mine. If you keep it at Coinbase, Coinbase owns your crypto. Let's see. Big Ed already answered it for me. Transfer an account, buy Bitcoin, then transfer it to a Ledger Nano or a Trezor or a paper wallet. There's different ways to do it. Dave says, I have UNG question for you. I saw the January 24th Wednesday contract, $3 put strike for 25 cents. Looked great until I saw UNG is reverse splitting 1 to 4 Tuesday. If I had 4 contracts, what happened? You get 1. If it's a 4 to 1 reverse split, you would get 1. Yeah, I'm not sure how that works with futures contracts, honestly, Dave. That I'm not sure. And options is kind of weird too when you own something and it does like a weird like 3 to 1 split or something like that, and you got 100 shares. What happens? It's kind of confusing. I don't know the answer to that one. Noteworthy with regard to how many Bitcoin per share each ETF intends on holding, there are some that are grouped around similar share price. Eventually, I think all the data. I think will the data on their holdings. You were buying Bitcoin? Yes, I am, but I'm not buying a lot. I am if I have a couple extra bucks, GS, I'll just buy another couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. But I already have most of my holdings. I kind of was hoping Bitcoin would have sold off a bit more so I could buy back, buy some more. I mean, I have a specific goal in mind with how many Bitcoin I want to own. I'm not there yet. How do you get a cold storage? You go to something like this. I'll just bring up a website for you. Here's the thing. The main one that most people are using is called a Ledger. It's called Ledger is the one I use. There's one called a Trezor. There's several others. Don't ever buy your cold storage device from eBay, second-party sites. I'm emphatic about this one. Make sure that you buy it from the source. So here's a company called Ledger. You can buy it directly from ledger.com. That's the company, and then you can buy those right there. The reason I say not to buy it from anywhere else, hell, I'm even nervous about buying them at like Best Buy, because it's easy for me to, if I worked at Best Buy, I could take the Ledger off the shelf, go into the back room, get a razor blade, open it up, take everything out, turn it on. I could now take your seed phrase and write it down. So I have the seed phrase, which is 24 words, and I keep that in my possession. And then I put everything back in the box. I seal it up. I shrink wrap it, make it all look brand new, put it back on the shelf. And you're like, oh, it's Best Buy. This is great. Oh, they're nice. And a year down the road, you bought it from Best Buy. You go home, you put all your crypto on there, whatever. You're all excited because it's cold storage. A year down the road, you turn it on, and all of a sudden, all your crypto is gone. Every last penny. And you're like, how the hell did that happen? Because someone got your seed phrase before. Never buy them on eBay. Never buy them used. Only buy them from the original source. I am a very untrusting person, so that's my my word of advice there. That's where you would get cold storage. Buy it from ledger.com. So does a $3 strike change to 12? Correct. Yep, you would see it jump to 12. And that's probably why you're seeing this thing dump. I mean, if you watch UNG lately, UNG's been brutal. Beto as well. I'm in Beto, and I've gotten crushed. I was playing seasonality on this, and here's Beto. Fortunately, I didn't buy it 23, but I'm back in here, so I'm underwater right now. I think 21 is my entry price, so I'm down about 90 cents on that bad boy. I've got a stop in mind, and if it gets below it, I'm going to... sorry. Hold on a second. It's not Beto. Not Beto. Boyle. And Boyle is way worse chart than this. Much more steep. There you go. So I bought back here in the 20s. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was looking great for a while. I was having huge profits on this one, and now I am underwater on my Boyle trade, and it's falling like a rock right now, most likely due to that split. We'll see if it gets down below this 23.50, which is my ultimate stop loss on this one, which would be a good loss for me. That's fine. Now let me go real quick into 2 trades that were made, and I talked about it yesterday. The one yesterday was really kind of comical. You guys saw what happened with Spirit Airlines. Spirit was just getting annihilated. Now let's go look at SAVE. So I looked at it yesterday, and that was actually when price was way down here, sub $4. And it had just started to move up. I think when I got it, it was like at 4. When I sold the puts, it was like at 450, which was right where my cursor would be, right about there. So it was starting to bounce back up. So I looked at it, and I'm like, okay, I don't think Spirit's going to go under tomorrow. I think it's overdone. If anything, their assets are going to be worth a little bit more than that. So I looked, and the premium was off the charts, as you can imagine. When something's in free fall like this, people are losing their minds, panicking, trying to buy protection. So I sold the $4 strikes expiring today. So I sold those yesterday. They expired today, and I made 6.5% rate of return on that bad boy in under 24 hours. Now, obviously, I didn't get executed, and of course, somebody messaged me and goes, "Why didn't you just buy it?" I'm like, okay, you know what? Leave me alone. Yeah, I could have bought it, and would have been a huge day for me. 17% gain just today alone, and yesterday it had a pretty nice move up from 450, closing at right around 570. So that was a nice little bounce up. That trade is done. The two trades I made today, similar thing. I sold the $16 strikes intraday, expiring today, and collected 1.5% interest. No, sorry. What was it? When it was at 16, it was 1.5% interest, but it was already up at 17. It was pretty much risk-free trade for me, ending in just a couple of hours. The second one, I did not buy Mara or Riot. I didn't sell options on those either today. The second part that I did this was much more of a gamble, and I did it with fewer contracts. And what I did is I sold the $12 strike on IRBT. And you look at where that is, and I'm curious to you guys let me know what you think. Now, granted, this was done in my gamble account. I want to make that very clear because this is an extremely speculative trade. There's $12. If you go from current price levels to get down to $12 from where iRobot is now, that would be a further decline of, you'd have to fall 31% to get down to that level. You'd zoom out here, iRobot, it's been a long time. All right, let me just zoom there. So you are now looking at levels it hasn't seen since 2010. Now, I'm not saying that $12 mark is a great demand zone. That really wasn't the reason for it. I wanted something that was way away from current price, that wasn't going to give me, that I felt had a tough chance of getting down to that level. Now, the rate of return for this was 12%. So I got a 12% rate of return for the next month, and we will see. It could easily get down to 12, especially the way this thing has been falling. When it comes to iRobot, though, I'm a fan. I am a huge fan. I love these. I don't know if any of you have a Roomba or one of these Shark vacuum cleaners. They are great. I love it, especially when you have a German Shepherd. So I'm looking at it as I'm fine owning that thing at $12. And not only am I fine owning it at $12, but I actually got 12% less than that. So yeah, I think so far, I think I'm okay with that one. But we'll see. I'll let you know how that trade turns out. I have 10 contracts on, so it'd be 1,000 shares at that point. It put me on the hook for $12,000. Not so worried about that. I think I'll be okay. What do you think? Am I crazy? This isn't my gamble account, so I can already tell you that it's a wild trade, in my opinion. Normally, I wouldn't do this in my stable accounts. What do you guys think? Just curious. Lori says, I love my Roomba. I do too. Man, I love them. At first, I was a little skeptical on it, but I have hardwood floors. My entire downstairs is hardwood floors, and it's a dream. Oh my gosh, with the dog, we go to the beach, we come back, he drips sand all over the place. Fire up that Roomba. Let's do it. All right, so I got Ed's questions out of the way. I got my Roomba trade. Talked about save. There was another one that you guys wanted to look at. I guess I could look at some of these other ones. Big Ed was, of course, looking at things like NVIDIA. Another all-time high today. I mean, NVIDIA is just relentless. Relentless. Big Ed says, I like that trade in your account. I like it too, Big Ev. I like it too. Granted, this is, again, I'm making it very clear. It's not with a lot of my capital. It's only $12,000. It's not. It's in my risk, my gamble account. So I look at this one as extremely speculative, but I'm not really that worried about it. Now, Spirit Air, I would be holding long term because they'll probably go bankrupt in a few months, but I don't think that Roomba will or iRobot will. Thinking about selling $70 puts on XLE. What are your thoughts? Let's go XLE. 78s. I like the fact that you have this little demand zone that we pretty much tapped into that goes back to July of last year, July 7th and 8th. I'm okay with that, but you got to be, again, you got to be a little bit careful here because that overall trend is down, but I'm okay with it. As long as your rate of return is good for you, GS3, I'm all right with that. How much timeout are you? Did you sell the February 19th? Is that the third Friday? I think it's the 19th. Let me just real quickly check here. No, it can't be the 19th because that's the 19th for this month. The 16th, February 16th. You're going out just a little bit less than a month, 78. You probably get some pretty good premium because it's pretty darn close to current price. You're only $2 away, so your premium should be very good. Lloyd said I bought NVIDIA today, and it's already up over $1,000, waiting for it to reverse to sell calls against it. Nice. Why don't you sell calls against it now, Lori? Just because right now everyone's buying calls, right? The premium you would get on it is high. So, if NVIDIA is currently trading at, and this is where it's tough because you have no ceiling. You're at all-time highs. Right now it's at 594. Well, why don't you sell the 600s, 640s, right? Sell the 640s. I don't know what the premium is. I don't have my option chain here. But if you sell the 640, if it gets there, hey, great. You're happy to make another $46 per share and collect that premium. If it starts to sell off from here, well, you already sold it at 640, so keep the premium. Don't worry about it. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I'd be doing. On the way up, I'd be selling calls against it because right now everybody is trying to buy NVIDIA, and those calls are going to have a premium to it. All right, let me wrap this one up. I didn't plan on going long again. Here is your economic calendar for Monday. Let's do Monday. Earnings-wise, nothing overly exciting. I think we've got, I can't remember off the top of my head. We've got a lot of stuff happening next week. So Monday, you don't have much going on for the U.S. markets. I'm going to make sure all my filters are off here. Correct. Our filters are off. You see you have some tentative stuff for Japan. They do have their monetary policy statement, which is going to give their rates. Everything's expected to stay the same, negative 0.1%. But man, I just shake my head every time I think about it because why are they not raising rates? U.S. doesn't have anything going on. And on earnings front, I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'll bring up the page, but I don't remember it being anybody of importance. Really, the interesting stuff starts on Tuesday with Netflix and then Thursday on the next day, so that'd be good. I sold the $600 calls, but I bought it back since it was rising fast. Well, then you lost money on it. But go further out. Go do the 620s, 640s. Something where you go, I'd be fine to sell it there. Don't be greedy, but get a little bit of extra premium along the way. Why not? All right, let me get that Monday earnings, and then I'll wrap this show up. It was United Airlines it came out. United Airlines and Logitech. You got a couple banks as well. But really, next week is all about airlines. You had Spirit Air obviously take a big nosedive. That may benefit some of these other airlines and create opportunities to buy some of their assets if they do go into bankruptcy. So, I think you have American Airlines or United Airlines on Monday, and then you have American, you have Southwest, you've got a whole bunch, Alaska Airlines, all having different ones. It's pretty good. All right, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to wrap up. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Go do something fun. It is obviously all about, hold on one second. I had yeah, there you go. Bing. There's my team right there in the corner. Deserves to be seen. Let's make it even bigger. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's all about them Niners. I should have put the Packers on here, but going to be a great game on Saturday. I will be obviously cheering for my team. If you're a Packers fan, good luck to you. Going to be a great battle. Hopefully the Niners will prevail, but I want to see a good game either way. So thank you guys so much. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. If you have questions, email me, TraderMerlin@gmail.com. Ed, thank you for the questions on Bitcoin. Hopefully I answered those. If not, send in further, and I will elaborate more. I'll see you guys on Monday. Take care.